Welcome to another installment in Animaniacs Month, with this special character profile on everybody's favorite retired cartoon star, Slappy Squirrel. With its wide assortment of animated characters paying homage to the original Golden Age, it was maybe inevitable that somebody who was around during that era would be featured on the show. After all, legends like Chuck Jones were getting renewed attention at the time, so the animated equivalent of that made sense to appear on Animaniacs. Created by Sherry Stoner, the idea basically came from the notion that an elderly animated actor would know all the old dirty secrets of the other cartoon characters of the yesteryear. Also providing her voice, Stoner gave a razor-sharp wit that made her likable and just as cool as the Warner siblings. What was also refreshing is that Stoner and the other writers did not simply make a bunch of old person jokes. Even though she had not been in the cartoon business for many years, Slappy Squirrel still had the spunk of her earlier self, and lost none of the violence that she excelled at for years, thus always had a bomb hidden somewhere for appropriate usage. Joining Slappy on her adventures is her nephew Skippy, continuing the grand tradition of owning unseen siblings of cartoon characters bearing children. An excitable bull of youth, Skippy seemed to delight in Slappy beating the tar out of her enemies, and even helps along at times. The standard plot of a Slappy Squirrel cartoon involves her dealing with somebody who annoys her in the only way she knows how to, with madcap slapstick, sly responses, and explosive violence. Her most frequent enemies are old cartoon co-stars, who are still smarting from when she would pulverize them. Walter Wolf would appear the most often, but there were also the likes of Sid the Squid and Beanie the Brain-Dead Bison. One of the best and funniest episodes of Animaniacs had Slappy taking revenge on a pair of film critics for panning her classic cartoons, and tell me if they look familiar. Though in classic Animaniacs fashion, this was more about having fun with widely known personalities, rather than a personal attack on Siskel and Ebert. There were even times when the writers would occasionally take inspiration from real life when putting the scripts together, and this was notably true for Deanna Oliver and Sherry Stoner on the Slappy Squirrel segment, I Got Your Can, which came from a situation where Stoner threw her soda can into a neighbor's recycling bin and was then forced to take it out. She then realized that Slappy would not put up with that, and thus we got some hilarious scenarios in which Slappy torments her neighbor with multiple soda cans. Not all the episodes were about Slappy being vengeful, though. In one cartoon that parodies that first moment when a film makes us cry, Skippy sees what is basically Bambi and gets upset at that scene. Yeah, that one. Slappy then takes advantage of an old contact show that Bumby's mother turned out okay, and done in that typical Animaniac style. Another notable cartoon parodied the Sunshine Boys, as Slappy finds herself reuniting with an old partner, but the two are not exactly cooperating. However, Slappy reacts to things a tad differently than Walter Matthau. Outside of the Warners and Pinky and the Brain, it was unusual for one of the other Animaniacs characters to get an entire 22-minute episode devoted to them, but Slappy managed to get one with One Flew Over the Cuckoo Clock. Tired of all these senseless Jerry Springer-like shows and fake doctors on television, Slappy loses it and ends up in a nursing home, much to Skippy's sadness. The result, while hilarious in that we get to see older variations on classic cartoon characters, some owned by Warner Brothers and some modified for copyright reasons, is one of the rare times Animaniacs became touching, as Skippy visits her every day to try and snap her out of it. But thankfully, the show ends in a happy ending. Like the rest of the Animaniacs gang, Slappy and Skippy both appeared in Wacko's Wish, with her biggest wish simply for a tree to grow some acorns again. Skippy, meanwhile, just wants more children to play with, and then, when he gets his wish, we of course get a very funny zinger from Slappy. In conclusion, is it any surprise that Slappy Squirrel is one of the most endearing characters on the series? A lot of the credit goes to Sherry Stoner, but the artists and the rest of the Animaniacs team did a splendid job at creating a geriatric cartoon character that will certainly sustain the test of time. There's more Animaniacs coming, so stick around and I'll see you next time.